The silent cry of the forest and the unstoppable force of fire devouring everything in its path. Catastrophic wildfires that turn lush green landscapes into scorched wastelands. This compilation brings you stories that will leave you breathless and footage that will send chills down your spine. Get ready for a gripping journey into the heart of the firestorm, where every flame has a story to tell. The summer of 2017 was one of the hottest in Portugal's history. Temperatures soared to 104 degrees and extreme drought made forests in a tinderbox waiting to ignite. What caused the fires? While the official cause was an electrical short circuit, many critics pointed to Portugal's lack of preparedness. Outdated firefighting infrastructure and insufficient resources made the country highly vulnerable. As a result, 64 people lost their lives, many trapped in their cars while trying to escape. Over 30,000 hectares of forest and farmland burned within days. More than 500 homes and 50 businesses were completely destroyed. The battle against the flames was relentless. 2,000 firefighters and 600 fire trucks fought around the clock, risking their own lives to save others. But the tragedy sparked national outrage. Citizens demanded better wildfire prevention systems, modernized infrastructure, and improved forest management. The year 2023 will be remembered as one of the most devastating wildfire seasons in Canada's history. During the summer, Canada faced record-breaking temperatures, soaring to 104 in some regions. Lightning strikes hitting dry forests were among the primary causes of ignition, while human negligence, as unextinguished campfires and spark from equipment, also contributed to the catastrophe. By the end of summer, wildfires had consumed over 17 million hectares of forests, an area larger than the entire country of Greece. Fires rage across most Canadian provinces, with Alberta, British Columbia, Ontario, and Quebec suffering the worst damage. Smoke traveled thousands of miles, reaching the United States and even Europe. Cities like New York and Chicago experienced extreme air pollution, forcing residents to stay indoors. Scientists estimated that these fires released over 1 billion tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, the equivalent of the annual emission of 250 million cars. Thousands of firefighters, hundreds of aircraft and helicopters battled the flame. International aid poured in, with countries like the US, Mexico, Australia and the European Union sending specialists and equipment to assist in the crisis. The wildfires that engulfed Russia's Trans-Baikal region in 2024 became one of the most severe environmental disasters in Siberian history. By midsummer, over 1.5 million hectares of forest and grasslands had burned, an area comparable to the entire country of Montenegro. Fires raged across multiple districts, devastating vast territories. The summer of 2024 was marked by extreme heat and drought, with temperatures soaring to 100 degrees. The leading causes of the fires included lightning strikes, abandoned campfires, and discarded cigarette butts. The beginning of 2025 turned into an inferno for California, as wildfires ravaged the state on an unprecedented scale. More than 1.2 million hectares of forest and residential areas were engulfed in flames. The fires were fueled by severe drought, low humidity, accumulated dry vegetation from the previous winter, and the infamous Santa Ana winds, which reached speeds of 100 miles per hour in some areas. As of January 31st, at least 29 people had lost their lives. Over 200,000 residents were forced to evacuate. More than 18,000 homes and structures were completely destroyed. When the flames spread into residential neighborhoods, firefighters ran out of water. Officials revealed that water reservoirs in high-altitude areas like highlands and the pumping systems that supply them couldn't keep up with the demand. California's water infrastructure was designed to handle localized fire affecting a few homes, but it was never built for a catastrophe consuming entire communities. The Australian wildfires of 2019 were the result of a catastrophic combination of extreme weather conditions. For years, severe drought had turned vegetation into highly flammable fuel. This, combined with record-breaking temperatures and powerful dry winds, like the infamous Black Whirlwind, helped the fire spread at alarming speeds, triggering deadly firestorms. Over 18 million hectares of land were scorched, more than 3,000 homes were completely destroyed, while thousands more were damaged. Infrastructure, farms, and even tourist landmarks were left in ruins. One of the most heartbreaking consequences was the massive loss of wildlife. Thousands of animals, including koalas, kangaroos, echidnas, and other iconic species, perish in the flames or suffer from the aftermath of the disaster. In 2022, Spain faced one of the most destructive wildfires in its history. The fire started in June and spread rapidly across Catalonia and Andalusia. Over 130,000 hectares of forest and farmland were burned. Thousands of people were evacuated, with emergency shelters set up for displaced residents. International firefighting teams were called in to support local efforts. Portugal and France sent reinforcements to help battle the flames. The disaster also had severe economic consequences, particularly for agriculture and tourism. The destruction of vineyards and olive groves resulted in massive financial losses for local farmers. The year 1997 marked one of the darkest chapters in the history of Indonesia and Southeast Asia. Devastating wildfires engulfed these islands of Sumatra and Kalimantan, creating one of the most severe environmental disasters of the 20th century. At the time, Indonesia was experiencing one of the worst droughts in history, triggered by the El Niño climate phenomenon. Local farmers and major corporations relied heavily on slash-and-burn agriculture to clear land for palm oil plantations and other crops. But when the flames spiraled out of control, the fire spread rapidly across vast areas. More than 5 million hectares of forest and peatlands were reduced to ashes. An area the size of Slovakia, the thick smoke didn't just suffocate Indonesia, it spread to neighboring Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, and even the Philippines. In some regions, visibility dropped to just 50 meters, while air pollution levels skyrocketed to 10 times above the safety limit. The toxic haze led to a massive public health crisis. Over 20 million people suffered from the respiratory issues, and thousands lost their lives due to complications. In the aftermath of 1997, Indonesia and the global community took action to prevent future disasters. Slash-and-burn farming was banned, forest monitoring was intensified, and large-scale ecosystem restoration programs were introduced. But have we really learned from the past? The wildfires of 2021 spread across vast regions of Greece, particularly affecting the islands of Rhodes, Evia, Euboea, and the Attica region. Fires raged for weeks, destroying forests, homes, and critical infrastructure. Official reports confirmed dozens of deaths, hundreds of injuries, and mass evacuations. Hundreds of thousands of hectares of forest were reduced to ashes. Greece's dense forests and dry Mediterranean climate made it highly vulnerable to wildfires. The situation was worsened by strong winds, which accelerated the flames. Tragically, investigations revealed that some of these fires were deliberately set, further complicating firefighting efforts and increasing casualties and economic losses. Additionally, a lack of specialized equipment, limited resources, and delays in coordination response allowed the fires to spread at an uncontrollable rate. In June 2021, wildfires broke out in the vast Siberian taiga and the Russian Far East, fueled by the record-breaking heat waves and severe droughts. The scale of the destruction was unprecedented. By August 2021, fires had consumed over 18 million hectares of forests. The flames raged across Yakutia, Krasnoyarsk Krai, Irkutsk Oblast, and Khakassia. Some reports suggested that the Siberian wildfires alone exceeded the total area burned by all other wildfires worldwide, at least since the beginning of satellite monitoring. For the first time in recorded history, smoke from these wildfires reached the North Pole. What caused the disaster? Poor fire safety practices during logging operations. So-called controlled burns meant for fire prevention, which spiraled into uncontrollable infernos. One of the most catastrophic wildfire outbreaks in Turkey's history engulfed the country's southern and western regions, lasting for weeks. Over 170,000 hectares of forest and farmland burned. Temperatures soared to 113 degrees, up to 15 degrees above normal. Fires rage across 47 provinces, with Antalya, Mughla, Aydin and Mersin suffering the worst damage. Tragically, more than 10 people lost their lives, including firefighters and local residents. Thousands of people were forced to flee their homes. Popular tourist destinations like Bodrum and Marmaris faced imminent danger. Some government officials and social media users speculated that the fires were acts of arson or terrorism. Drone footage circulating online allegedly showed unknown individuals setting fires deliberately in remote forested areas.